Hi everyone. Well, this weekend is the Monaco Grand Prix. It's the jewel in the crown of the Formula One season. It's the one everyone wants to win. You know, it's where all the glitz and the glamour is. All the rich, famous, and beautiful people come down for this event. It really is a spectacular thing to be about. It's not just about the race. It really is a great event. But away from all that glitz and that glamour, it's also a very difficult event. It's a probably the most difficult race on the calendar for many reasons. A lot of the teams, the team personnel actually don't really look forward to going to this race because logistically it's a nightmare. They have to keep all the equipment in two different areas, the pits and obviously there's a paddock area. So constantly got people going back and forth, carrying stuff, trying to give information to the team and all those bits and pieces. It has improved a little bit though. A few years ago they upgraded the they could keep more stuff behind the pits, and that has helped. But it still makes it for a very difficult weekend, and teams have to prepare for it very well and plan for it very carefully. As for the drivers, you do see all these great dinners and parties and stuff, but the drivers really don't get a chance to really enjoy them. It really is a working weekend for them. So they might show up for an event or two, but they'll probably just show up for an hour at the most before they go home to get their beauty sleep. Now, Monaco itself is one of the best street tracks in the world. It's not the best. You know, I can think of others like Macau and Po. You know, they're probably better street tracks, more interesting or exciting. But Monaco in a Formula One car is probably the most unique experiences you can have in a four-wheel motorized vehicle. Well, at least a single-seater in any case, you know. A car where there's only room for one. It just is very unique in that way. You know, it just the sweeps, the blind corners in a Formula One car, which feels like a rocket. You know, Formula One car on a big circuit just feels like a very fast race car. But on a Monaco Grand Prix, which is a real true street track, it feels like you're riding a rocket that is buckling and bronkling. You know, it's up and down. It's constantly in the air over the bumps. There are blind corners. You know, the run up to Casino Square and the run back down from Casino Square is tough in a Formula One car. Then you go through the hairpins, and then you got the tunnel, of course, where you go from daylight to dark and then back to daylight again. You know, it's constant feedback into your brain, and you have no chance to relax. You know, when the car's doing this all the time, you're just working the steering wheel all the time. There's no straights to relax, and that means as far as concentration goes, it's the toughest it's the toughest race of the season for concentration. You know, you're doing it for almost 2 hours. If there's a red flag, and there will probably be red flags, then you're doing it for 2 hours. And so it is tough that way. And I remember my own Monaco race, when I finished on a Sunday and I got back to the pits, I just was so drained. I was actually conscious of my brain feeling like a muscle, say like a leg muscle that's just done a marathon, and you just couldn't think. I couldn't even add up what 2 + 2 is. And it was such a unique feeling, such a curious feeling, shall I say, that I've never had since. And that's what the drivers will have to go through this Sunday. Now, talking about unique experiences of Monaco, you know, Ayrton Senna, who is the king of Monaco, once qualified his car on pole by a second and a half from his teammate Alain Prost. And I remember he described that lap, because a lot of people describe that as probably the best qualifying lap they've ever seen, or Formula One has ever seen. And Senna described it as, "Suddenly I realized I was no longer driving the car consciously. I was kind of driving by instinct, only I was in a different dimension." And he went on to further say that he never had that feeling again. So Monaco is that kind of special place. So you won't see much overtaking, but just watch the cars, watch the drivers working the cars this weekend. For me, it's a complete joy to watch. Now, to add to the magic, we're back to turbos and massive amounts of torque. And not much grip. You know, downforce levels are a lot lower than last year. And so I believe this year we'll see the cars jumping around a lot, getting sideways, definitely brushing with barriers. I hope the teams will be beefing up the suspension, because I think a lot of cars will be touching the barriers. And drivers will just simply struggle to keep it on the track, let alone finish a lap or even finish the race. I mean, I remember it was, I think David Coulthard or maybe Eddie Irvine, one of the two, who once famously described Monaco as driving a mountain bike around a living room. Well, this year, it would be like driving that same mountain bike around that same living room, but instead of carpets, you're driving that bike over polished concrete. That's how tricky it's going to be. So join us on Fox Sports and Racemate Live, and we'll get to see exactly what happens this weekend. Bye-bye.